Hey everyone, Sean here from The Great Curtain. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about tom mics for lower end toms. So we're going to go through three different mics. Kind of in turn, we're going to start off with this Sennheiser. This is the MD421. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the Beyerdynamic Opus 88. And then we're going to talk about this microphone I'm just trying for the first time today. This is the ND46. So first talking about the Sennheiser. So I've used this just starting maybe a couple years ago. I actually really like this microphone. I believe this microphone also can get used in broadcast cases, but it works really well on low toms. It seems to really kind of bring out the low end. It has a little roll-off filter down here. I don't particularly use that too much, but you know, for if you're doing broadcasting, you might want to use that. It's got a little nifty release piece here, so as you can imagine, this would be attached to a stand, and it's got this little quick release. You can just pull it off and then just flip it back on. So it stays pretty good. So I really like using this. I actually end up using it on the bottom part of my tom because I find that it's a little bit of a pain to try to mount up top just because it's so big. So you can imagine I'd have to have a stand, and the whole thing would have to be sticking out up quite high. So it's a little bit of a pain I find to use up top, but I really like it on the bottom. And this replaced, I used to use a Sennheiser E604 when miking my bottom toms, and that did not have it didn't have the kind of punch that this mic had. So I used this mic on the top. So this is the Beyerdynamic Opus 88. This is a condenser mic. It helps bring out, I find, a little bit of the attack that I would normally be missing on just using kind of a condenser mic. So it helps, I think, a little bit of a balance using these two mics. So using the condenser on the top and then the Sennheiser on the bottom. So as you can imagine, like I said, it's a condenser, so it usually runs a little hot. I put a pad on it usually when I run it through anything. But it's got a decent full sound, a lot of bleed, of course. So then we've got the EV mic, this ND46. So like I said, this is the first time I've got a chance to play with it. It looks like the adjustments, so this is similar to the EV mic I went through in the previous video. So it's got this clip piece that is not permanently attached, but it swivels, and it's got feels like it has a good grip on it. I'm not afraid that it's going to kind of come off while I'm playing a show. It's got this piece which feels like it's pretty tight. It's got it accepts a Phillips head screwdriver, so you can tighten it up if you needed to. And it looks like the adjustment for this swiveling is actually a little bit different from the previous model. It's actually got this, I don't know how well you can see it, this little lock button right here. So if it stays in place on its own normally, if you push this in, then you can rotate it like this. As you can see, it's not an infinite number of positions, but it has a pretty good, I think the places where it would stop at is basically as fine as a positioning system as I would probably need. So because this also has a much smaller footprint than the Sennheiser, I think this might work a little bit better on top miking. But we'll have to see how that plays out. One thing to note that compared to, say, obviously the Beyerdynamic, which has its own little built-in mechanism for mounting, or the Sennheiser E604, which we have right here, which has its own built-in little clip. Obviously, these bigger mics do not have built-in clips, so you'll have to put them on stands. Alright, so we're going to test out these three mics now. For the two dynamics, I have them raised up a little bit, pointing towards the center. Usually when I would have this mic underneath, I would actually have it a bit further away from the head. And I can get away with that additional space underneath is a little bit less bleed, but I'll keep it a little bit closer since I'm up top. So I'm gonna play on the tom a little bit, then I'll kind of go around the kit a little bit so we can get some of the bleed as well. So first thoughts on listening back. I would say the ND46, the EV mic, has a lot more range on the upper end than the Sennheiser, which I don't actually in this case necessarily know if that's good on a kind of two mic system. So on the Opus I get a lot more attack. On the EV mic I do get some attack there. If I was using just one mic, the EV would actually probably work pretty well on the top. But I will say that as far as kind of like low end thunder, like really meaty low end, the Sennheiser MD421 seems to be untouchable amongst the three.